The wheel weaves as the wheel wills. Earlier this week, I finished Eye of the World by Robert Jordan, the first book in the Wheel of Time. And, when a buddy said, hey, would you be interested in doing a reread? I know you just finished it, but I love this series, and it's been a few years for me, so I'd like to read it with someone who's passionate about it. I was all on board. Because The Wheel of Time is my all-time favorite series. I've read Austen-Ard, read Stormlight, I read Malazan, I'm reading Rift War now. I've read a lot of the heavy hitters of this genre, but nothing has yet to surpass The Wheel of Time. And rereading The Eye of the World, it just completely recaptured my imagination and why I fell in love with the series in the first place. Because what Robert Jordan has managed to achieve in not only this book, but also this series, is just incomparable to anything else, in my opinion. And I know people are going to get on their stages and say, well, this series is better at this, or this series does this better. But for me, The Wheel of Time just has it all. It has the great characters and arcs that make sense to those characters. It has dynamic relationships that are not always the best example of men and women interacting, or men and men interacting, or women and women interacting, but it's believable. It has this incredible scope and this enormous amount of world building where you only really begin to scratch the surface of upon your first read, and there are so many intrinsic and well thought out details that it just it boggles the mind that you're only getting a piece of the greater story that is the Wheel of Time, in this turning, if you will. It has a plot that I really enjoy. It has that good and evil dynamic that I'm in love with. It has the chosen one trope, which is one of my favorite tropes of all time. I'm a sucker for everything that Robert Jordan put into this series, because it's such an amalgamation of old fantasy traditions, from Tolkien to Beowulf to Norse mythology to the Christian religion to Buddhism, and all those things mixed with this modern fantasy approach with prose that is digestible but never too it doesn't feel too modern, and it just has everything I want in fantasy. It is the series that I've always wanted to read as a fantasy reader, and coming back to it is just a reminder of how good it is. Because Eye of the World is a really fun time. I know there are so many people who are I didn't really like Eye of the World, but The Great Hunt or, The Dragon Reborn, that's what got me into this series. And while I agree that the further you get in the series, the better it gets overall, The Eye of the World is still a fantastic introduction. Because, yes, it has some very stereotypical fantasy beginnings. It's a bunch of farmers going off on a quest, and one of them becomes the chosen one. And I'm sorry if that's a spoiler, but this series is 30 years old, so you'll forgive me for it. But for me, that doesn't matter. First of all, I love classic fantasy. So if you're writing a series and has those tropes, I'm already in, all right? I'm already counted in. But what Robert Jordan just does here is make those tropes not just believable, but they make sense, and the way he subverts them is genius. It just, it changes the genre from when he writes to the time it finishes. The Wheel of Time, it's a genre-defining series. But anyways, getting back to my Eye of the World review. What I like so much about this is the fact that, I am completely sold on this world and on these characters. There are so many other series I've read where I will be reading a book, I will be completely in it, and then the writer will just do something that gets in the way of the story that they're telling. Not bashing him, but Stormlight, it uses certain modern terms that don't quite mesh with the series, or at least in my opinion, he puts modern problems in a series that I don't always think addresses them very well. And, that's okay. That's okay for him to write that way. But it pulls me, the reader, out of the story. Or Malazan. It will just have certain thematic elements take place over the plot or over the story and take precedent, and that pulls me out, you know? Or you know, like not even those series, but a character will just say or do something that doesn't quite, like, it just pulls me out. And the Wheel of Time never does that. The Wheel of Time for 14 books straight never pulled me out of the story. There are parts I don't like, I will fully admit. But Eye of the World just reminds me of why I fell in love with the series in the first place. Because it has this plot that I just really enjoy. It has these characters that are annoying, and, you know, they complain, and you know, they're frightened, and what they turn into as the series goes on is incredible. They are totally believable within their setting. And speaking of the setting, the Westlands, Randland, whatever you want to call it, the world of the Wheel of Time, it is rich with detail. It is so, like, you can tell it's lived in. Robert Jordan made a world that is living and breathing. It has a history, and that history doesn't just feel ancient. It doesn't just feel far removed. It feels like it matters. What he wrote about the Trolloc Wars that happened 1,000 years ago or whatever matters to the present day situation. The politics, they matter. These character interactions that happened 500 years ago, they matter. And it's just amazing to see a world like that. It is something I wish every other fantasy writer did. It's something that George R.R. Martin does very well. It's something that Steve Erickson does really well. And it's these authors who can just make the world feel real. It makes these stupid minor details that wouldn't matter in any other series matter significantly. And his just attention to detail, I think, is really the thing that elevates the series above everything else I've read, in my opinion. Because I do want to see what all the dresses look like. I do want to see all those minor character interactions and them struggle together and joy together and just like be people together. That is something that I miss so desperately from fantasy, is those minor character interactions that seem to not matter but matter significantly to the people paying attention to them. I like the 10,000 descriptions of taverns. I like the fact that I can picture Caemlyn very differently than Ilion. Like, I like the fact that I have this clear idea in my mind of what these places and what these cities and what these people look like. And it's something that Robert Jordan does oh so very well. His thematic approach and the way he blends real world culture and mythology together to just make his world come alive is so unique in the modern fantasy space. It feels like he really thought this entire series out. It doesn't just feel like he was just like, yeah, you know what? I'm just gonna write, and hopefully people like this. He wrote this world because he wanted to live in it, and it you can see it, you can feel it when you read it. So it just like The Eye of the World is really good, is what I'm trying to say. The Eye of the World is really, really good. It's a really good introduction. I actually have come to appreciate the end, which is very wacky, and I'm not going to spoil it, but it is very wacky. But like, just like what he manages to achieve here, and the pieces he sets on the board that won't have payoff for 6, 7, 8 books at a time. It's just amazing. Like this dude was on another level as a writer, and I'm very appreciative of the fact that I was introduced to it, and that I've gotten to read it, and now I get to reread it, because I really do, at the end of the day, think that this is the best. Like, this has my favorite cast of characters in any fantasy series. It has probably my favorite world. It has probably my favorite plot. Like, I'm just gonna be honest. Like, I'm totally biased, but this is it. Like, this is the pinnacle of fantasy for me, and I just don't know how you can do any better. Eye of the World's like an 8.8 out of 10. Great beginning. Just so many fun little moments, and I don't know. I love it.